most people, that is those people who say they are for social equity and all that kind of stuff, really think colorblindness is the way to go. I mean, it is. It's ideal, but we live in a society that is not ideal. And so color does matter, and I'm not sure most people understand how it matters.
Mainstream society today says there are only two ways to approach race, and one is to be racist and the other is to be colorblind, which is to say not talking about race at all. We believe there's a third way, and it's not just us, but many people actually feel this way, and that is that you can talk about race, you can study race for the purpose of working for racial justice and equality. And in fact, you have to do that if you want things to change.
I've heard about CISWAC and received your newsletters.
Someone at Bank Street College had participated in it was a short couple-hour meeting conversation, and they said, "What's the name of the center?" And so she was sharing how the questions you are asking are not the same questions that different organizations are asking about race. And as soon as she started talking, she said, "Yeah, that sounds different and refreshingly different."
People ask us about our name. We're a center, a multiracial organization, and we study something, and that something is white American culture. We also do training and publishing, and we do this for the purpose of creating a multiracial and anti-racist society. People call us CISWAC for short. We are the Center for the Study of White American Culture.
I particularly appreciate the analysis that was new for me when I started getting involved in the Center for Study of White American Culture, that whiteness is a crucial piece of undoing racism, is to acknowledge, name, and understand whiteness. That was a new piece for me that helped make all the other pieces come together and make sense.
We are about decentering whiteness and making the center of our universe more multiracial, in the sense that there are different racial groups within the center who will have an input into what is going on.
We do this workshop because we want to provide a place where people can learn more about the history of colorblindness, how it's meant to function and how it actually is doing damage, and so that we can be more educated about what's the alternative to colorblindness. How might we conduct ourselves instead?
There's a saying of ignorance is bliss, ignorance is not bliss when it comes to racism. Certainly not for people of color who are adversely affected by it.
This colorblindness thing just does not work. Not for those people who are victims of racism and the lack of racial justice. Doesn't work.
I really appreciated that there were trainers of color and traders who were white. That was a wonderful thing.
I was very encouraged by this workshop because it had great resources that were shared with us to provoke our thought.
It also gives you an idea of, okay, if I'm not going to be colorblind, how do I go about being what we call in our workshop color conscious? What does that look like? What does it take?
One of the great discussions that we had was about the 8 principles or 8 points of color consciousness, learning about race and racism.
Another point is don't explain away or ignore race. Boy, does that happen a lot. Anywhere you have a seat, use that seat to make a way for people that are different from you to have seats there also.
I was skeptical as to how to have a rich conversation digitally.
I love Zoom because it allows us to reach people anywhere and everywhere as long as they have internet capacity.
So the whole technical aspect of this was new to me.
We can break into small groups where 4 or 5 people can see and talk with just their small group of folks.
And so I signed up. I've never done a webinar.
We can also have large group conversations.
I found the format of Zoom actually surprisingly interactive, and I felt like I got a chance to really connect with people.
I love that it was interactive. I love that we could see each other and meet each other. And I love that we could break out into discussions.
We also have tools like you can show your PowerPoints and your graphics.
I like the idea that we were given these scenarios, and in our breakout groups, each group took a scenario and explored it.
By the way, it doesn't hurt that I can be in the comfort of my own home. I can be comfortable and cozy in my own space and still participate in a vibrant workshop.
And it was so much fun to have Julie on technology.
I was grateful to have Julie there to introduce me to Zoom and to walk me through, so that that pre-introduction work was really helpful.
We will get started with the tutorial in a few minutes. I'm just waiting for some other participants to show up. My name is Julie. I've been the one sending you emails.
Really, ultimately, ideally, everybody belongs in this workshop because we all have been trained in this notion that we should be colorblind and that that's the best thing.
This would be for anyone who is interested in working toward racial justice. It's not just for white people.
As a white man in the United States, present day, I walk through my life with greater unearned privilege than pretty much anybody else, especially a white, hetero, educated man. So I would ask, request, and even challenge men who are like me in those dimensions to really take a good look at this.
I love the way the workshop gave me sort of a container for both learning about new ways of understanding racial consciousness as a white woman, and for meeting other people who are engaged in this work.
I got an opportunity to talk about race and talk directly about race and ask questions about race and practice having these conversations in a way that doesn't alienate people.
One of the wonderful things about the CISWAC workshops is that they can show you what you don't know and ways to talk about what you don't know.
My understanding of color blindness and therefore color consciousness and white supremacy really grew across the 3 sessions.
I believe I've seen, as the people come in, they have one way of looking at it, and then as we try to bring some analysis to it, I see people begin to shift their focus someplace, so I feel hopeful.
It brought forth great conversation to the point where I'm inspired to pursue having CISWAC come and facilitate a workshop in my community.
And thanks for all the work you do.
I'm grateful for the work you're doing, and keep on.